So we asked the question, why does St. Louis have such great sports fans? Much of it has to do with these three men from the Koplar family. The Koplar family and their television station KPLR began bringing live sports coverage to St. Louisans back in 1959. In a way, we had an early version of ESPN, from the contributions covering the Cardinals, the Hawks, the Blues, and of course the epic must-see TV program every Saturday or Sunday morning, Wrestling at the Chase. Please welcome to the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame, with your applause, Bob Koplar. Ed Wheatley will conduct this interview. Congratulations.
Well, Bob, I think there's only one way to take these people back in time, and it's with the holy grail of wrestling. That's just not a bell. That is the bell for all the years at Wrestling at the Chase on KPLR. I mean, immediately you ring that, what did the people's eyes get big, and they all got smiles. They know what it's about.
I was expecting you to have a wrestling ring here, and I'm kind of surprised. This is a huge honor for my whole family. My name is Bob. I am not being inducted. I have no business being here. Let's make that clear from the get-go. But it's an honor to speak on behalf of my father and my grandfather and my great-grandfather. So
why don't you give us a little quick, of Sam, Harold, and Ted?
So Sam Koplar, he was a self-made man, sort of made a living in the salvage business, and got into the development business, into construction. And his lifelong dream was to build what we now know as the Chase Park Plaza Hotel. And that was built in the midst of the Depression. And he risked everything to build it. He actually lost ownership of the hotel in the 30s and gained it back in the early 40s. Just an incredible story about entrepreneurship and guts and resilience. And
just many of the buildings throughout the Central West End. Every time you go to Powell Hall, Sam Koplar built that.
Yeah. So he built a number of really incredible structures here in St. Louis, and was a true entrepreneur in the sense of he risked everything with every building that he built. He put the risk up himself, and he did go broke several times and made his way back and made out okay in the end. So.
And then let's talk about, that set the stage for what was going to come with Harold and Ted. You might explain, how did Harold come in and then Ted?
So Harold Koplar took over management of the Chase Park Plaza Hotel, which became an entertainment mecca in St. Louis, and famously created Wrestling at the Chase, which arose out of his friendship with Sam Munchnick, legendary wrestling promoter. And it actually, the story goes that they conceived of this on an airplane, where Sam Munchnick was just a highly respected wrestling promoter in an industry where there were some seedy people. But Sam Munchnick was able to organize this really well-run wrestling organization. He was friends with my grandfather, H.K., and on an airplane, they came up with this idea to not only televise professional wrestling, but to hold it in a ballroom at the Chase Park Plaza, the Corsan Ballroom, which was kind of one of the more elegant rooms in the city. They were going to put a wrestling rink up and kind of open it to the public and make it a thing. And
it wasn't just open to the public. I mean, and it was elegant. You and I, we've held a wrestling match in this room here, but the opulence of the Chase. Tell them about a lot of these people that are younger. When it first came, it was the hottest ticket in town. Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole were down in the Chase Club down the hall. But how did the women and the men show up for these wrestling matches?
Well, the story goes you had people in tuxedos and very, very fancy, eating like lobster and drinking champagne, and then getting like sweat sprayed on them from wrestlers, getting pummeled in front of them. But it was free. So it was truly open to all people. It was young, old, black, white, rich, poor. I mean, it's truly everybody was welcome at the Chase for these matches. And it became a tradition on Sundays to come and watch, or Saturday nights, I guess, to come watch Wrestling at the Chase.
Yeah, not only was the Chase was the place, wrestling at the Chase was the place to be seen, and that's why all the swells dressed to the nines, evening gowns, evening gloves, tuxedos. And that really set the stage for what your grandfather and then your dad were going to do, because that became, a national hit, wrestling at the Chase. But your dad really had a foresight beyond just wrestling at the Chase. He was looking to make something big, and as you said in the intro, we almost had like the first ESPN.
Yeah, well, wrestling grew out of this crazy, weird business model called independent television. And it was, in the early days, a matter of figuring out what people want to watch on TV. And it was all being sort of made up as they went along. So the first broadcast on KPLR was a Cardinal game. It was April 28th, 1959. They're playing the Cincinnati Reds. And that's how KPLR TV signed on the air. And it was all downhill from there. Like, the station really was bad. I mean, so it was a story about my grandfather bought all this programming from MGM. It was a whole library of shows. But they were shows nobody had ever heard of and nobody wanted to watch.
That's why you got it cheap.
Yeah, except for one, the Three Stooges.
Yeah.
So if it weren't for the Three Stooges, Cardinal baseball, and wrestling at the Chase, KPLR would not be around today. It would have gone away a long time ago.
But it became the #1 independent television station in the nation.
It did, and it's largely because of sports, because the independent TV model, as they figured out, really thrived on localism. And you had to showcase local programming to get people to watch. And as it turns out, people wanted to tune in to watch sports. That was a great uniter of what the city, because it's broadcasting. You have to show programming that everybody wants to see in order to be successful. And sports was it. So it was the Cardinals, it was the Blues, but beyond that, I mean, it was like high school sports. I mean, crazy stuff like Highlight was shown on KPLR. They went nuts. They throwed everything at the wall to see what would stick.
Well, they even did Corey League baseball right after they couldn't show movies.
Yes,
they did Corey League baseball out at local fields.
Absolutely. So I don't know how that rated, but they did show Corey League baseball. They showed just about everything. And I asked the question of why, if that was a successful business model for an independent TV station just to show local baseball, because the problem is you couldn't show baseball on network-affiliated channels because they had network programming. And they were required to show, the NBC, ABC, CBS shows. But at KPLR, as an independent, we could show whatever they wanted during prime time. So Cardinal baseball went to prime time. And that was a big deal. And it didn't happen in a lot of cities, and you kind of wonder why. And it's interesting, I saw a memo from 1985 about Cardinal baseball and KPLR. And it talks about how they were billing like $10,000 per week for advertising on Cardinal baseball, which sounds decent for 1985. It cost them $20,000 a week to put on the program. It didn't make any sense financially. But my father, Ted, all he knew was people in St. Louis wanted to watch Cardinal baseball. And he wanted it on his station, and he was going to do anything to get Cardinal baseball. And he was dead committed to it. And so he kept it on the station, and it had a halo effect of, I think, making the station more recognizable, and kind of became the St. Louis institution that it did.
Yeah, and like we said, it wasn't just the Cardinals. It soon became the St. Louis Hawks when they were here. Then it became the Blues. It became soccer. It was the sports station in St. Louis, and the other cities didn't have it. And I've written about St. Louis, and this is one of the reasons of having the best sports town in America with our fans. And how would you say they helped create this fan base just because they got to watch these programs all the time?
Well, it's having free over-the-air sports on TV makes a huge difference. And I think it's the reason why, I think a huge reason why football has overtaken baseball as our national sport. Football's free over the air. It's starting to change now. But when baseball went behind a paywall, it made a huge difference. I think it It shrunk the audience, and my father's battle for many years was to keep not only baseball but hockey on free over-the-air TV, and I think that's the reason why football is as successful as it is today. It's easy to find, it's easy to watch.
Well, I think a lot of people today are clamoring back to get free baseball over the air with what's going on in today's world. So, I think the legacy of Koplar's, sports, creating great fans in St. Louis, the history of pro sports. This is a long overdue induction into the Hall of Fame to the Koplar family, all three of them, and down into all the generations. You touched us all, buddy, every Saturday night, every Sunday morning, and throughout the week. And the other thing people forget, there's some people in here, there was only 4 stations. You were the 4th station showing TV, and TV went off about midnight. That's what television was like when they came on the air in 1959. 4 stations, and you became the #1 independent in the nation.
Yeah, not a lot of options. That's good. Not a lot of competition. But yeah, that's because it was just very much being invented. Sports on TV was a new thing, and the production values got better and better, and now today it's obvious. But back then, nobody knew that sports on TV would be a successful endeavor.
Must-see TV, Saturday night, Channel 11. NBC owes you some royalties on that phrase, by the way. Must-see TV. Bob Koplar, the Koplar family.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame.